As we consider some wisdom about God as set forth in the book of Proverbs, something that we find mentioned time after time in this wonderful book is the fact that we are to fear God. In the first chapter, in verse 7, Solomon says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Fear is inseparably connected with obedience. Yet in order to obey, one must have a knowledge about what they need to obey. The two sides of fear, you have the respect for God and you have the terror of God. These two things motivate one to find out what God desires so that we can obey the Lord's will. We read in Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 21, "My son, fear the Lord and the king. Do not associate with those who are given to change." Well, we've already cited in a previous lesson the importance of a connection with friendships and government. It's necessary to include it here as well. We're not to have a heart of rebellion, but one of submission to God that is rooted in a healthy fear of Him. In Proverbs 16, the first 7 verses, we read that the plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from God. All the ways of a man are clean in his own sight, but the Lord weighs the motives. Commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established. The Lord has made everything for its own purpose, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone who is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Assuredly, he will not be unpunished. By loving kindness and truth, iniquity is atoned for, and by the fear of the Lord, one keeps away from evil. When a man's ways are pleasing to the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. In breaking this down, we start out by noting the statement that the plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. The thoughts and motives of man are wholly his, but truth, the proper answer of the tongue, comes from God. We must always look to God as the source of truth, not to our own hearts. The Lord, through the prophet, reminded us of the danger in following one's heart rather than following Him. For we read in Jeremiah 17 and verse 9 that the heart is more deceitful than all else. Next we see that all the ways of a man are clean in his own sight, but the Lord weighs the motives. Man is free to choose his actions and the direction of his life, and each one will do what seems right to him. But we must remember that God will hold us accountable for all that we do in this life. Next, it says to commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established. We must submit to God, and if we do, we will enjoy the blessings that come from obedience to Him. The Lord has made everything for its own purpose, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone who is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Assuredly, he will not be unpunished. This is not teaching that God is meticulously micromanaging every mundane moment of our lives so that everything happens for a reason. Instead, it simply means that the future of all things is in the hands of God, and those who are wicked will one day face punishment. And one who arrogantly believes that he is exempt from this fate is an abomination to the Lord. And as long as he refuses to repent, then he will have no hope of escaping the punishment for iniquity that has been determined by God. By loving kindness and truth, iniquity is atoned for, and by the fear of the Lord, one keeps away from evil. The way to avoid the punishment that comes for sin is to follow after loving kindness and truth. In the fear of the Lord, one will recognize that there is a future judgment in which God will render to man according to his work. And knowing this, the one who fears God will avoid sin and do what is right, so that he might be prepared to face the Lord in judgment. The one who does not fear God and therefore practices all sorts of iniquity will not have his sins atoned for and will progress further and further into sin. And then lastly, when a man's ways are pleasing to the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. There is a peace that comes from following after the Lord. This does not mean that a godly man's enemies will have a change of heart necessarily. Rather, it means that by following the ways of God, he might either have a positive influence on others so that they desire to live in peace with us, or as we walk in wisdom, the wicked man will find little reason to attack us or rally others against us. So following after divine wisdom helps us to lead lives of peace with others. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today, and have a blessed day.